How's it going, guys? Nate Rambles here, and I'm here with another, well, rambling for you guys. Hope you enjoy it. So it's currently 5 o'clock in the morning as I sit here recording this. My camera is not readily available right now, so I can't necessarily set up a set up a camera right now. So I'm just kind of recording this on my phone. It's just sitting here on my couch. The lights are off, and the mood is right for a video about darkness, I suppose. Um, yeah, darkness. Definitely an interesting topic. One that fascinates me quite a bit. Considering, I suppose, my confused relationship with the word and the concept itself. Let me preface this whole thing by saying that I believe that darkness can, not always, but it can be a friend to you if you understand its role in your life, in your mental health, your spirituality, whatever facet that it pertains to you. I think it's very important that that darkness is understood, because it's very much a part of who we are as human beings. You know, there is a darkness inside of all of us, a shadow. You know, there's evil inside of all of us that exists, but we just don't show it because, well, we're good people. I truly do believe that people are good at heart. I mean, the fact that we as human beings are always striving for some kind of betterment, some kind of, positivity, and generally, even if we are, and, you know, even if we're 100% self-destructive, in our minds, we still believe that what we are doing, is for the better, even if we are gravely misinformed. So, where was I? What was I talking about? Yeah, so darkness. We generally, as a world society, especially, me living in America, I'm sure whatever Americans are listening to this can probably relate to this, but we tend to surround ourselves with things that are pretty, things that are good, things that, American society tends to take an extremely unabashedly hedonistic approach towards life in general. When there's what seems to be an inherent hedonism, I don't know how exactly you would pronounce it, surrounding the whole idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, pursuit of happiness being the key one here. I could obviously I could ramble for hours about, materialism and all that, but I think that's beside the point. There seems to be an unhealthy avoidance of what is dark and what is ugly and what is generally unfavorable, in life. And it's obvious that we're fascinated by it, considering the insane amount of horror movies that come out, that you see previews for on TV, the same repetitive, derivative, horror movies that are all about, demons coming from the Ouija boards or whatever you pick your poison, whichever one whatever trope you're going for. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, um, so we like to pretend like we are good people. We are not dark people, and that we and I believe we tend to shy away from it. And anyone who sort of identifies with, or you know isn't afraid to tackle or try to understand the darkness within themselves, is seen as an outcast or a freak in extreme cases. Um, and the whole counterculture surrounding darkness is also kind of a convoluted thing to me, because, darkness is not an identity. It's simply just a condition of who we are. I'd be lying if I said that I don't, you know, if I said that I don't, uh, how do I say it? That in the past I hadn't identified with, any kind of, you know, darkness. I think we all do to some extent. We go through our teen years, we go through our young adult years, and we we're brooding, we're moody, and we listen to angsty music, and some people will take it a step further and develop it into their personality. They'll become, oh, I don't know, they'll get really involved in, maybe for example, not to say that there's anything intrinsically wrong with anything here. I'm not trying to say that at all. But let me just say what I was going to say. Metalheads, and maybe those who get involved with paganism or witchcraft, or hell, even Satanism, for God's sakes. A lot of stuff with very dark, very ethereal, and at times spiritual undertones. You know, it's an identity. It's a way to um, it is a way to label yourself so as to further understand yourself. Um, but I believe in a lot of ways it is the exact same as labeling yourself as a good person, or someone who someone who believes that they're going to heaven, for instance. Um, so that's just a couple of scattered opinions I have, thoughts I have on darkness. If you'll indulge me, I would like to maybe sort of explain my whole um, experience with darkness, and I apologize if there's any long periods of, of silence. If any point gets too long, I'll probably just edit it out. But I do tend to get wrapped up inside my head when I talk about this kind of stuff, so I will try to keep this as concise as possible. But if I do trail off at any point, just know that I'm just trying to not go too deep inside my head, and go to that self-destructive place. So with that in mind, let's begin. uh, the first really dark, I suppose, thoughts, well, I'm debating on whether I should take this back to I had a friend in high school, who, without going into too much detail, um, was not a positive influence on my life, but he was very into dark stuff, dark music, dark video games, movies, just anything that was dark, anything dark that he could get his paws on. he was into, and he showed me a lot of this stuff, and I watched it, and I liked some of it, but I had my limit. I I don't think the darkness was really a part of my life at that point, and I hadn't really experienced anything too depressing or dramatic or traumatic rather. So I guess I didn't really get the full blast of it, the full gist of it. It was just kind of something that I casually observed. I casually observed the things that my friend was showing me. Fast forward to college, my first college, SUNY Oneonta, in Oneonta, New York, appropriately named. I had my first suicidal thoughts there. I would, I'll never forget just kind of walking by myself around the campus at sunset. There was nobody around, and the sky was just this like orange mixed with blood red, and I had fantasies of just climbing, like going into one of these tall buildings and just climbing the stairs all the way to the top, and then just waiting till it got dark and then just jumping off. That was a fantasy that I had for a very. It was one of the prominent fantasies I had while I was there. Obviously, I never acted on it, but it was a scary idea. It was a scary concept. It was the first run-in I had with, this really intense darkness that I didn't really understand. Obviously, throughout the years, this darkness has grown and manifested itself in different ways. I've There have been times where I've literally been afraid to leave my room because I was convinced that there were demons upstairs, and I couldn't go upstairs alone because, well, the demons were going to get me. But the demons were just, constructs of my own mind. I had let myself go so deep inside my head and had lived in my fantasy world for so long that just this whole idea of demons and considering my religious background and my extreme fear of demonic things of a demonic nature, a lot of my fears and a lot of my demons literally took the form of demons. So there was that. I mean, obviously, keep in mind, I'm aware that I knew at the time there weren't literally demons upstairs, but when you're so deep inside your head, the reality becomes the line between, reality and, well, not reality becomes a lot blurred. And it's very possible that I was experiencing some kind of depersonalization at the time. And I guess I just let the walls of rational thoughts kind of dwindle away, and things became a lot more fantastical at that time. But it doesn't change the fact that even in broad daylight, things could get pretty fucking dark. I have a very short, brief history with self harm. I've never drawn blood, but there have been moments where there's just been so much pent up aggression and darkness inside of me that, the only way to sort of leak that out of me, to spray that out from, my being, was to just take some kind of jagged object and just slash at my skin and just kind of feel the energy fucking coursing through that one part where I slashed myself, and it just was something to concentrate on, rather than that extreme darkness. Thankfully, I'm taking medication now. I'm working, closely with my psychiatrist and my therapist to, you know, maintain, or rather control, and maybe hopefully someday end my depression. Um, I have not self-harmed for a very long time, and I intend to keep it that way. Um, try and make that a whole. Try and make that never again. Here's what I'm gonna say about darkness. It can be a misunderstood friend, and at the same time, it can be a very fierce enemy if you indulge yourself too much. By the very definition, by its very nature, darkness is a mystery. The whole idea is that you just don't know. It's the lack of structure. It's the absence of any sort of ideas, or colors need not apply. There's just nothing. If you get too deep into darkness, you will enter nothingness. And when you enter nothingness, you only have your mind to occupy you. And when you have nothing but your mind to occupy you, then, well, you create your own darkness from there. So, let me give both a warning and a I suppose a piece of advice at the same time. Let me start with the warning. My warning is that if you are experiencing any kind of depression or any sort of intense you know any sort of intense fight with your mental health right now, maybe your mental health is not up to snuff right now, just pay attention to where you're letting your head go. And if you feel yourself slipping, stop. I'm telling you, it's a seductive thing. It's an attractive place to want to go and explore your darkness. And maybe for a while you will feel that you're sort of becoming more enlightened, or you're discovering things about yourself. And to an extent, you are. But it crosses a threshold into destructive. So, and you'll know when it's getting destructive. You'll feel, like I said, you'll feel yourself slipping. You'll start losing your sense of you'll start to depersonalize, and lose grip with reality. So my plea to you is, if right now, if you are watching this and you feel like you are slipping, turn on a light if you're in the dark. Listen to a happy song. not a dark, depressing song. And I know that may seem like a trivial thing to do, but it really does help. Um, Talk with somebody. Talk to anybody who will listen and not judge. If you don't have anybody like that, the internet is full of them. 7cupsoftea.com is 90% of the time super amazing for me. Um, there's groups on Kick. They're not the best, but they exist. Depression groups. I found a couple very, very kind souls on those groups. So try that out. Just don't let your mind go so far into it. Don't go so far into your mind that you can't come back, because I've been there, and it's not fun. It's a very foggy place to be. So just be careful. On the other hand, the piece of advice: if you're in a healthy place in life and you feel that you're able to explore your darkness a little bit, try and explore darkness a little bit. Understand that darkness is a part of us. Understand that it just can't be good all the time, and it just can't be evil all the time. Yin and yang. And know that if you are experiencing darkness, you are in turn experiencing light at the same time. You cannot know light if there is no darkness, and you cannot know darkness if there is no light. So realize that it is simply the natural order of things to feel dark. And you are not evil, you are not a scumbag, or you're not weird for wanting to explore it. So explore it. There's so much good art, music, that ideas and philosophy that have come from the darker side of life. And it's amazing, ironically, how much light this philosophy has brought to people. And that has been born out of darkness. So the two concepts are not that... Well, the two concepts are pretty interchangeable when you come down to it. And I think that's about all I have to say. I realize this was a pretty heavy ramble. But what can I say? I like the heavy stuff, so it's what I talk about. Thank you guys very much for watching this. I intend to post more of these coming up in the future. So if you enjoy my rambles, please subscribe, and there will be more coming in the future. Thanks a lot, guys, and hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.